It took me so long to figure out how she was doing this sort of thing. I mean, that is the reason my book is the way it is. First of all, I'm not a history professor and I don't have to produce a certain kind of book. I can fall in love with my sources, so to speak. And I would think when I was reading, standard books, which I like, I don't want to criticize them at all, but I would think, well, so they fought that battle. Well, how do you do that, And so I was always trying to figure out how was she, recruiting these people. And so I would ask, as anybody to tell me, and people would give me ideas that were from Santiago, for example, how they had traveled and what she might have said at a meeting and so on. So some of the country women were thinking about this, and so they said, well, look, we didn't know, but later we decided that what she was doing that summer, because she was always a party planner. I mean, if she were alive now, she would probably be doing that. I don't know that for sure, but she would probably be doing a lot of very organizing big events, because she did that actually for Fidel. After the revolution, the palace event she would organize. All right, so from the time she was a teenager, she would organize these days at the beach and invite boys and bring a picnic, or she would put together parties and get somebody to lend the room, the living room, and get a record player and so on. So she was a big planner, and she would get people together to go out fishing all night because they like to fish at night there. So there would be these people that would come in fishing and then stagger off to work. But she would organize all those things. So they feel that she was doing that all that summer. And because she had to find people that were, see people who were in little villages. And she couldn't go alone. They couldn't leave because everybody would say, well, where have you been? Well, he's been down to Manzanillo. Well, what was he doing there? That kind of thing. So she would get her friends. They would be potluck, and they say they would put benches in the back of a truck and go off to one of these places. And I mean, it's very beautiful in that part of Cuba. So if there was like a little waterfall, that would be the reason. But they remember one time when there was nothing in particular, so they all had a softball game or a baseball game in in a pasture, and so the local people sort of came down because they were all fascinated. Like Celia always looked good, and she would hang out with women who always looked good. Lipstick, eyebrows, the whole set of things. They were all, she made patterns, so she dressed nicely. So I can imagine that the people playing, that baseball team were fascinating. So in the course of the day, and the very long, all those innings, she could talk to everybody. So she could talk to whoever she saw who she wanted to recruit, sit and say, these men are going to be coming to Cuba. There are people coming who are going to try to get rid of the Royal Guard who are around here, always patrolling. The Royal Guard in that area were always on the take. If they needed a chicken, they took a chicken. So, I mean, she had no problem with anybody understanding why they wanted to get rid of this small army that was inhabiting their area. So that's sort of how she did it. Or she loved orchids, so they would go off to get things for her garden and so on.